All right, here we go. Woo! Hello. How are you guys doing? I'm in my bedroom. We'll let everyone kind of pop on. I'm waiting for Shannon to pop on so I can add her. Hope you guys are having a good night. All right, there's Shannon. Let's see if we can get her added. There we go. Let's see. There she is.
Hey,
Hello. How's it going?
it's going good.
Good.
I just had I'm like trying to sneak and look at my teeth because I
Just
need
in
a
case.
a blueberry crisp, and I'm not sure. I did not look at my teeth. So if there's blueberry chunks, girls, I'm sorry.
You never know. You had what? Blueberry or raspberry crisp?
Blueberry.
Blueberry. Was it good?
It was. It was.
Mm.
Yeah. Sunday night's family dinner night. It's how I try to woo my big kids home and make yummy dinners. And they come for the food. They leave kind of fast, but it guarantees I get to see them. So
You are a smart mama. So I always are watching you for good tips and tricks for older kids so they don't ignore me.
we try to keep it totally chill though, because we don't want them to feel pressure, because I don't want them to dread coming home. So
Yeah.
I just say every Sunday, 5 o'clock, family night. Come if you want. Please let me know so I know how much food to make. And sometimes they don't come. I have to watch my mom heart so I don't, feel bad.
Oh, that would be hard. Right now, I'm still very cool in my house, so I'm like top dog. But
Does that all your littles want to hang out?
yes, usually, and even Jordan at 13, I'm still pretty in the cool factor. So I like it. I'm gonna ride it as long as I can. I'm just gonna ride it. So
For
I hope.
sure, savor it. I'm so cool to Grace. She's 16, but she wanted to take a walk with me, and she looped her arm through mine, and she's as tall as me, and we walked. I said I'd only do 1 block, so I did all. What'd you guys do today?
Oh man, we did a church online. I French braided everyone's hair because that was requested, so that took a little bit of time. And then we hung out. Chris mowed the lawn. He also got a TikTok account, so he's real excited about that.
Okay, when I was logging on, I saw that there's a TikTok under your guys' name on Instagram, and I had
Yep.
used self-discipline not to watch it before
Yeah.
I got here.
His goal is to embarrass the girls as much as humanly possible. So that is his one goal. So he's very excited about it. And yeah, that's how it works. So, but I'm waiting to see if anyone jumps on. I'm not seeing anyone yet. So,
Oh, New Journey jumped
oh,
on.
there we go. Yay. I
Hey,
know. I was like,
welcome.
just go slow. I wonder if I can jump on my own account. I'm looking at my computer. But yes, so he has his TikTok account, and now he's just filming the girls being ridiculous. And so I think they're just going to have a really good time.
That's fun. I think I'm getting a TikTok account. Sarah told me just before we got on that I was a bad mom because my daughter has it and I don't.
I didn't say you were a bad mom.
You did. Those were your words. That's not a good mom or something like that.
I said it's not a good mom. I didn't say it was a bad mom. I just said.
I don't know, girls. What do you think?
I
Hey,
know.
Connie.
Oh, there's Connie. Yay.
Connie's one of my good friends from high school.
Oh my goodness.
She is. She's pretty awesome, and she's crafty. You're crafty.
Oh, I love crafty people. I'm not crafty at all. You can see behind me, see like my 3 decorations in my bedroom. This is it. Watch out. It's real fancy in here. So
Connie, you probably didn't expect to be talked about, but this is how cool she is. She is cool. She invited me to a mom and daughter Bible study, and it was Bible journaling, and she made these cool like bags that had all the Bible journaling stuff.
Yes.
And
is this like the retreat? You was on a retreat or you went to her house? Which one?
I went to her house. She did it for a month or so. It was really fun. But she created a cool bag that I would have never used. And I use it all the time now. In fact, Connie, my pins are on my desk, but I can't get them because I have this fake Kim Kardashian light on, and it will knock the whole thing off if I move.
I actually have two. They're right here. It's real ridiculous. I'm like, I feel very intense by the lighting. But supposedly it's the cool thing. So
why don't you tell them why we're here tonight?
Yes, so we thought we would just jump on and just kind of spend some time. We don't get on Instagram Live very often, and I don't know, I am actually on Instagram quite a bit, so I thought it'd be cool to come over here and talk about just quarantine and marriage, and then just kind of how we're surviving and coping. Which I love when I was talking to Shannon about this, because you said, Shannon, about how people keep dropping yummy goodies off at your door. It's just so special, isn't it?
It is. I felt like a jerk. I was talking to our team. I'm like, you guys, isn't it amazing how many cool things get dropped off on your porch? And my team was like, nope, not so much. But Sarah, tell us about what got dropped off on your porch, because I think
so I have some amazing people in my life group, and so her and her husband actually, they've dropped off a couple care packages to different houses, and so they're not cookies or candy or anything like that, but they're very practical things. So this last time there was a pack of gum, says to help you stick it out. Okay, a bag of marbles in case you lose any of your own marbles. A special mask that you can wear to the grocery store.
I'm enjoying that.
A very random picture of her husband framed, and then a pregnancy test just in case there's any extra belly button to belly button time. And these crack me up. I'm not joking. I love it. And so, but those are the kinds of bags I get on my door. So they're not cookies or chocolate, but just in case I'm pregnant, I'll know right away. So, because this test says results in 3 minutes. So
it would be surprising though, right?
It will. Oh my God. Yes, it would be very, very surprising, especially with our journey. So
yeah. So why are we on here tonight?
Oh, we want to talk about quarantine.
Monica, I love you. Sorry,
I
Sarah.
know, Monica. Belly button to belly button time. Whoop. Have you done that Craig Rochelle marriage study? Have you done that, Shannon?
I watched his series.
Oh yeah, it's a great, but he talks about belly button to belly button time, and it's just, he is so funny. We die every time. So that's where that comes from. But yes, we want to talk about quarantine and marriage and how we are coping. So how are you coping, Shannon? How are you and Sandy doing?
Ours, well, it's been interesting because right at the beginning, my in-laws moved in with us. That was pre-planned. They were moving back from Tennessee. So that's a big change. They're wonderful, but totally different. And then last week, Sandy got furloughed, which I thought furlough was like, before this, like cool. Like I thought furloughed, it's like a vacation with gifts or something. Except if you don't know what it means to be furloughed, girls, it means that you get let go without pay. You don't get laid off, so you keep your benefits, but and there's a time frame in which you get to go back to work. So he got a 60-day furlough. There's no vacations or presents that come with that. So different because he was expecting it and he talked to me about it, but I think I ignored him, which wasn't wise. So it's just been a little tense. And even before that, we're both working at home. Our offices are right next to each other. And so it's not been terrible, but it's not been normal. It's been a little more tense. What about you guys?
Yeah, we are, it's similar as well. We're both working from home, and then we've got 4 who are doing online school. I feel bad to say that I'm homeschooling because really the teachers are still doing the work. I'm just managing the login system. That's really what I do. But yeah, it's not necessarily been bad, but it has been a little bit more tense, and we are together a lot of the time. And so I think we start to kind of nitpick a little bit at, like, my husband chews really, really loud, like really, really loud. And I'm staring at him from across the dinner table trying to enjoy this gift of time together. And I just want to strangle him because he chews so loud. His mouth is closed, which is good, but he just chews so loud. And then I just think, yeah, we just notice different things about each other. Like my husband, I will like have snacks throughout the day, and he likes to watch what snacks I'm eating. And I'm like, stop watching me snack. So maybe I just snack more in private, and then now he's here all the time. So not horrible, but just more tense, and just you're just together, and it's just been no Chris, Monica, no Chris, please stop. Yeah. So it's been, I don't want to, I'm grateful for the time together, and even down the slowness of pace with 4 kiddos and different activities, we really have been home, and we've been playing games and watching movies and having a great time. But at the same time, those are the 5 people that I see all the time. And so, and they're kind of annoying, unfortunately. So
I feel your friend. It's so funny. Sherry, one of our friends, sent me a video, and it was an okay video, but it was about introverts and extroverts. So yeah. I'm totally an extrovert. Sandy's an introvert during the quarantine. And what was hilarious is the extrovert is like, I just need to go out. I need to dance. And starts dancing, and the introvert's like living his best life. The best part of the video is that day I had told Sandy, I just need to dance. And I had went and bought a portable speaker so I could play music loud. And he's like, you are like that guy, honey.
You are like that guy. That's so how, as I say, Chris and I also, because I'm an extrovert and he's an introvert. And so probably the first 2 or 3 days that we had to actually go and work from home. I was upstairs. This is in our bedroom, really is our only space. So it's our makeshift office. And just right over here to my left, I guess you're right, and I guess how you look at it, we have a big chair. And so I was sitting at the desk, and he came upstairs to sit in this big brown chair next to me. And so in my extroverted brain, I was like, oh, you've come up here to visit with me, obviously. And so I start talking to him, and he's like, I came up here to work. I just want to sit by you. I don't want to talk to you. I was like, that's me. So we don't work side by side anymore because I want to visit and he wants to work. I want to work too. I just want to visit and work at the same time.
That is hilarious. We had to have separate spaces too, but we were the reverse. I'm like, I'm working. We cannot talk. Talking to other humans. But tonight, gals, we just wanted to get on here. I love you, Becca. Her comments cracking me up.
Thank you.
So we just wanted to get on tonight and do something different on Instagram, just a Q&A. And so tonight's topic was marriage, where we have some questions that we've been asked recently from just different women. And also we're happy to answer questions you guys have tonight. And so we're just going to talk through them. Nothing fancy, but we just wanted to touch base. We're going to start doing this as a women's team every Sunday night at 8:30 on Instagram. And we're just going to choose different topics. And during the week, you guys can text us or message us, and we'll just answer them Sunday nights. So Sarah, how about first question here? What are things you do to keep your marriage healthy during this season?
Oh, man. During this season, it just, again, it looks different. And so I think for me right now, for my own husband, so it's different. I'm an extrovert, he's an introvert, but I'm not a physical touch person. It can be pretty draining for me, which is interesting. He, though, especially with me, is very like physical touchy. And so I think right now in this season, I'm trying to be really like aware of that I'm actually physical touching him because we're together all the time. And so that fills me up because relationally we're visiting and talking. And so usually when we're away for the day, I'm like, oh, I miss you. I want to hug you and snuggle you. Now that we're together all the time, I don't necessarily always want, I'm like, okay, you're always touching me. Like, but at the same time, he really needs that, especially in this season. Like it's unknown for him as well. And so for me, it's trying to remember what things fill him up and trying to accomplish those things so that he's not tense either. Because a lot of times if I'm tense, I'm sure he's tense too. So trying to serve him is probably one way that I'm personally trying to stay healthy in our marriage right now.
That's good. No, that's great. So, hey guys, this is our first time, so we're just going to be random. Do we want to rotate questions? Do we both want to answer
No, yeah,
questions? What do
I
you
want
want?
to know, you answer it too, though, because we're different
We
personalities,
are.
different people. So I want to hear, what are you guys doing?
Well, I can be kind of a jerk, so I'm trying to be intentional. So, I I don't know if any of you guys have done the love languages, but I highly
Mhm.
recommend the love language book. Hey, Greasy girl. And that's my daughter. And so um, Sandy and I have similar primary love language and different secondary. So we both love like words of encouragement, but I think they should have a fifth, not just quality time, but quantity time. So he loves quantity Shannon time. And I have very little need for quantity time. I like quality time. And so I'm just trying to be aware of that. So I'm just trying to be aware of his needs. I love your word to serve Chris. I'm trying to serve Sandy and go, he loves dinner made. So I'm making dinner regularly. I'm trying to be intentional about going on walks with him. Um, I'm trying to ask forgiveness a lot because I'm finding my mouth, it's that weapon that I have to submit to the Lord. And so I'm trying to also just ask forgiveness when I screw up,
Mm-hmm.
and physical touch too. Just making
Yep.
sure that just doing kind things like a back rub, a back scratch, just
Mm-hmm.
trying to be a servant and look at what he needs, not just what I want. And
Yeah.
I see him doing that back and forth with
Yeah.
me too. So, and
Mm-hmm.
for me, it doesn't come naturally. I have to be in God's word. And so one of the things
Yes.
is I have to be reading God's word and I have to practice it.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah.
Yeah, that's the same for me. I was sharing this morning on Facebook too. My life group gals, we've been doing Bible reading plans together, and that has been very helpful because it's just really helped me accountable, but also has helped me process different scriptures that whatever we're reading through, and then I can apply them to how am I treating my spouse and then my girls, and so.
I'm doing Jenny Allen's new study, Get Out of Your Head.
Mm-hmm.
So, girls, if you bought her book and did not buy her workbook, go buy the workbook. I love it. So, it's going through Philippians, but she actually has projects. Each week, you have some projects to work through.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
the whole book really is about like, what are we focusing on? What are we high centering on? What do we obsess about?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like last week, is how does it impact your marriage? How does it impact your friendship? And it's been just an iron sharpening tool to help keep me healthy, which helps keep my marriage healthy.
That's really good. I like that a lot.
So, so here's another question. How do you
Mm-hmm.
handle conflict in your marriage?
Oh, that is a really good question. And I always feel when I think about handling conflict, I feel like each person in each marriage is different. And so for Chris and I personally, we're both firstborns, so we tend to we like to go toe to toe, not in a bad way, but like if there is an issue, we're gonna sit down and figure it out. We're not necessarily like stonewallers. That's not in our personalities. Um, and so right now, I think in this season, it's for me, though, when conflict comes up again, because we are together the majority of the time, it's just taking a breath. And before I engage, being like praying, like, give me the words that I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of walking through what that looks like. And then just kind of trying to, again, pick my times. Like I can kind of go from two extremes sometimes. I can play a martyr and do all these things, and then he doesn't notice, and then I'm irritated, which is not fair. And then also I can pick the worst time in his day or in his week and bring up an issue, and then I haven't picked the right time. So it's for me, it's balancing that and figuring out when is it appropriate to bring up a conflict or something that is bothering me, and hopefully bringing it up in a time when it's not stressful, but in a time when I'm also not necessarily I haven't reached the end of my rope. Does that make sense? And so that way it's more of a conversation of like, hey, this is starting to bother me. Maybe it's me and I need to change my perspective. Is there something I usually feel like it's you, so I think you need to change, but But so for me it's kind of that, trying to make sure that it's a conversation and a less at the end of my rope. And then again, my husband Chris is also on staff. He's one of our executive pastors, and so he makes really big decisions, and he's having lots of hard but good conversations and making big decisions. And so me picking the time matters, because I want to love and respect him enough not to add extra pressure to his plate. So that's what in this season how we're handling our conflict.
It's good.
Yeah. What about you guys?
Ours, well, it's funny having people live with you that aren't just isn't your husband and kids, because you're like, I have to think about how I say this, as opposed to just the normal. By the way, hi Rosie and hi Mountain Girl.
That's Autumn. That's Autumn, and then it's Rena.
Hi Autumn and Rena. So with Sandy and I, conflict in this season, well, at first it was kind of whisper fighting, but we're learning right now, having different people in our house, that we have to have conversations, just the two of us. So we're taking walks or taking drives and definitely bringing up the issues that we're struggling with. In fact, tonight, actually, before we jumped on, we just had a hilarious conversation with my in-laws, and I'm like, just so you know, we're both strong-willed people. Because we were telling them we're really picky about how we prune the trees. This is ridiculous, but this is true. Just insight into crazy Shannon's head. We both think we're right, but Sandy is the head of my house. So that's something from me as a wife to go, okay, how do I have conflict? How do I bring it forward? How do we have good conversation? But if it's not a sin issue, how do I also learn to submit? Because often our conflict comes from being a strong-willed, strong-headed person. And we were actually sharing with my in-laws in our backyard. This is a true story, guys. We have an opinion how apple trees should be pruned. So we have a competition. I'm not even kidding you. That we'll know how it turns out in September. We each pruned an apple tree to see who's right.
Do you want us to vote? Do you guys want us to vote on a tree?
No, because it was a very not fine moment as a wife for me. As I'm like, I want my own apple tree. And so really, I think the big thing is handling conflict is we're talking about it. We are both asking forgiveness when we mess up. But I think God's really actually stretching me on going, do I know how to submit to my husband's leadership when he chooses something that is not my preference? And so
I always like to ask Chris too, like if something that is, I usually try and ask like, how big is this to you? Like how important is this to you? And giving him time to reflect on that a little bit, because if it is really a big deal, then I'm like, okay, like it can't be a big deal to both of it. Can't equally be a big deal. You know what I'm saying? So someone's going to have to serve the other. And so we've done similar things to try and like we call it sometimes who has the higher standard, or who does it like whose conscience does it, like, you know, convict, you know, like if I have a stronger conviction, then, you know, I might win. I hate to use that word, but I might win that time. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I want to follow his leadership. So if it's a really big deal to him and he's not asking me to sin, then I do want to submit to that.
Yeah.
But sometimes,
And I don't want anybody watching to think, oh, they handle conflict personally, because I screw up all the time because I have a big mouth. And sometimes my mouth says things that when I hear them, I'm like, ooh, I did not think that through. Instead of like coming here, it like goes reverse order.
Yes.
And so we definitely don't do conflict perfect. But I try to submit to the Lord and what he has. And I'm honest. I feel like we have a healthy marriage in that way. He does respect my opinion. So it's nice.
I think that's good. But yes, not perfect though. Not perfect at all. I usually tell Chris when he apologizes, he'll be like, can you please forgive me? And I'm like, I'm not ready yet. And I just sit I'm like a pouty baby sometimes.
We had that experience actually the other night. Sandy's like, will you forgive me? I'm like, I don't think I can right now. And she died laughing. Because it was a minor
10 minutes. I need 10 minutes to calm down. Please, 10 minutes. So
I know. I told that. I basically said that. I said I don't want to be a liar. So here's another question. Do we have time for a couple more?
Let me look at our, probably just maybe one or two. We're at about 20 minutes.
So, this is a super common question we get from gals. So how do you recommend getting your husband to do a devotion with you? Do you want to take it? I can. Want me to go
I
first?
was like, I got ideas.
So,
no, you go
Sarah's
first.
going to give you ideas. I have a feeling I know where this is going. So on mine, my simple answer is going to be don't. How do you recommend getting your husband to do a devotion with you? I think it's okay. It's 100% appropriate to have great communication and share with your husband you'd like to do a daily devotion together. If they don't want to, us browbeating them or trying to convince them that they need to do it or they're not spiritually leading our home, I think it's super ineffective, ladies. So I think be honest, share your feeling. If they want to, participate in it. If not, look for other opportunities to have good, deep conversations and pray for your husband and wait for God to open that door. But don't try to manipulate or make it happen. And you know your own spouse. You know whether humor, or Sarah, I know, is going to share some humorous stuff too. That is good too. But if your husband is a hard no on it, respect that and pray for him. And don't think you're never going to have a deep spiritual conversation. Sandy and I do not we both do daily devotions. We don't do them together. We talk about things throughout the day and course of the week and that. But that wasn't a rhythm that we started or he particularly wanted to do. No, we pray together and all of those things, but I just think don't force him. Respect that. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I was going to say something super similar. I will say that my kids are getting ready for bed, so if it gets loud, I'm sorry. So we'll see. I was going to say too, it's not about browbeating or even, even trying to manipulate that it happens. I think it doesn't make you a more spiritual couple. Does that make sense? It could be easy sometimes when I can look at a you and a Sandy or a Craig and a Sherry Miles and have all of these thoughts of what I think you guys are doing, and that might not actually be true. So don't be projecting on that. And I think my biggest thing is do those things that are going to connect with him spiritually. So of course for me, like that's going to be through my husband. It's going to be physical touch. It's going to be through sex. It's going to be through those things. Like serving him in those ways is actually what makes him feel closer to me as well. And there is a spiritual connection there. And so sometimes I think as women, we want something, so we either withhold things or we have bad attitudes or whatever that looks like. And so remembering, like, if you want your husband to connect spiritually, that's a super vulnerable place for him. And we need to meet them in their vulnerable places too. And so that's what I was going to say. You are spot on though. I agree. Like, if anything, just encourage the crud out of them. If they pray at dinner, you just say thank you. Like, if they check the kids into childcare at church, you say thank you. Any simple thing that, if you want your husband to be growing spiritually, you make a list of all the small things that he does and you just encourage him, because that's going to build him up. If we continue to tell him what we wish they would do, they're never going to make it. That's impossible. And so
I think that's super important, that word encourage, like to give courage to. It's so important. Our guys are out in the work world. They're facing all kinds of discouragement and they're facing wins too. Their homes need to be a safe place where we're speaking life into them. And I have a good friend who shared a story that when she was in a bad spot in her marriage, she decided she was going to be courageous, and every day, no matter what, she was going to write down 2 things about her husband that were positive. And she's like, even if it was, he has blue eyes, or he wore a cute shirt today, or not cute, handsome shirt. And the mindset that it changes, because when we speak life, it changes our guys.
It does.
So last question, Sarah, is What does intimacy in a marriage look like when everyone is at home all the time?
um, all the time, you guys. And Shannon, I know that you've already lived through this and are still living through this now. This is a new season for Chris and I. We've had our girls are 8, 10, 11, and 13. And so for a long time they were little. They went to bed at 7:30, and they didn't get out of bed, or they were in cribs. It didn't matter. Now they're older, and it's almost 9 o'clock, and they're just barely getting ready for bed right now because they were up watching a movie with their dad. And so um, it's still just being intentional with that time and figuring out what that looks like. And so that's what's funny about Craig Rochelle does. It's called From This Day Forward. It's an incredible marriage study that we love, but he talks about intimacy so well. And he says, listen, even he says this phrase, he goes, even if you've got to put your kids in front of Diego, you run upstairs and you go, Diego, go. And it is so funny the way that he says it. And so I think right now is it's man, sorry, I'm processing all my thoughts. It's creating some different spaces. I think I like kind of having some different workspace, so we're not like necessarily like sitting right on top of each other all day long, so that we can come back together. And then also creating that intentional time. Like our girls are older, but everyone has to be in their room at 9. Like if they're reading or playing quietly, that might be fine, but at 9 o'clock it goes into mom and dad time. And then with the intimacy stuff, be creative on whatever that looks like, whether that's even taking a drive out into the middle of the woods. Like, serve your man, think about that. He's like, I think especially as men, they carry around so much pressure, I think, on their shoulders, and they so just desperately want to be loved and respected and even just wanted. And so when we can actually do that for them, and we feel that in them, it just builds them up. And so I think right now it's, for us personally, not that everyone needs to know, it's being creative. We're being as creative as we can with 4 other people, 4 other females in our home who need, especially me, because they like to visit me all the time. And so it's being creative. What about you guys? You have in-laws living with you, so
That's whole next level. Like, so I just agree with you on the being creative. Well, and the two things, there's physical intimacy and there's emotional intimacy. So for us, looking at like emotionally, where earlier, like, you have to know your own husband. Mine is quantity time. So I have to meet that um, emotional intimacy piece. And then just being creative, setting, like, girls, if you don't have a lock on your bedroom door, tomorrow go to Walmart. I think they sell doorknobs. If they don't, Lowe's and Home Depot do. Get a doorknob with a lock, and have times where if you have kids at home, like, hey, it's mom and dad time, we're chatting or whatever. But 9 o'clock, it's your time.
we
And
we put laundry away.
you put laundry
We have to
away.
go put the laundry away real quick. We'll be back. We just got to go put the laundry away.
That is hilarious. And so, and then we're going to hopefully go camping. We're in a different season. We have a 16-year-old and in-laws here, so that's different where we can leave them. But just to take some time out and go somewhere, go camping with your man, put the kids to bed. Don't even wait until 9 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock bedtime, and you get to watch a movie on the tablet and then put it in the hallway. But creating space to make sure that you are emotionally and physically connecting with your spouse. And it's easy, girls, to go, I'll do that later. I'm tired. I've heard from you all day long. But you guys, we're missing out when we're not connecting with our husbands physically. And some of you listening, there might be some medical issues in that. And if there are medical issues, like, go to the doctor, address them, have good conversations, talk to each other. But
well, and I'll throw this out here too, Shannon. Anyone who's listening now or listening later, if you do have questions about some of this intimacy stuff, it is actually one of my favorite topics. Shannon knows to talk about.
It is her favorite.
It really is. And I grew up in a family that was really actually great about talking about this kind of stuff. And I would love to have a phone conversation with anyone who might be struggling or have questions and what that looks like. So make sure you just private message us, and I'll give you my cell phone number and we'll talk about it. I promise you cannot embarrass me, and I promise I've pretty much heard it all at this point. And so I've got the privilege to work with several women in this department, I guess we can talk about. And so it's a huge actually passion of mine. And so if anyone does need to reach out, just make sure that they do. So, but
I just agree with what Sarah said, and both ways. It is Sarah's very favorite topic. So definitely, but also gals, me too. I'm always willing to talk about this. This is such an important part of our marriages, and it's something that sometimes there can be a lot of shame, or women are just afraid to ask each other questions. And we can talk offline, and there's nothing you can ask that will embarrass us. And we're always going to point you back to God's truth and what God says about a marriage and blessing and intimacy. And so that's about all we have for you tonight. I had a verse that I wanted to share, if you don't mind, Sarah, before we wrap up.
No, you share it. Yeah.
So in Galatians 5, verses 13 through 15, or 13 through 16, I just thought it was such a good reminder, because we're at home. Some of your husbands are working outside the home. Some of you are working outside the home. Some of us are having lots of together. But I love this verse. It says, "You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free. But do not use your freedom to indulge in the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you bite and devour each other, watch out, or you will be destroyed by each other. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh." And that just so stood out to me today, because I thought, how easy is it to bite and devour each other? But we're not called to bite and devour each other. We're called to love each other. And the greatest commandment is to love God with all of our heart and all of our soul and all of our mind. But and the next is loving our neighbor. And we get to love our husbands.
I love that. That's so good. And I love too, because I think we're on our women's page, and so we're getting to talk to the women. I always think, like, if we were on our Real Life Marriage page, Chris would be with me and he would be speaking directly to the guys. And so tonight we kind of harped on us a little bit, and so that's because that's our audience. And so I always want ladies to know that the men have a part to play as well, and God calls them just as he's called us. And so it's both of us loving each other and serving one another. And so that's good.
Can I say one more thing? Just on
go for it.
Both of our husbands, because it would be different on the marriage page, both Sandy and Chris know that we're doing this Facebook Live, know that we're talking about our marriage, knowing that we're giving like a glimpse in, but they have full knowledge of that. And so when you guys are sharing stories, especially if it was in a public domain like this, always make sure your husband knows what you're going to share. There's a difference when you're going to somebody for wise counsel and getting counseling for your marriage and your walk with God. But definitely, I always want you guys to know on a public forum, our husbands for sure know what we're sharing. And so, I don't know.
That is really
good.
My heart. I know, it's good. All right, so I know we'll wrap up. Hey, you guys, if anyone has any other topics, we're going to be here on Sundays at 6:30. We're going to have different people on here. We will talk, honestly, just about anything. So if you guys have questions or topics you want to discuss, again, message us, let us know. We want to make sure that that these things are helpful for you guys. And we talked about marriage tonight, but there's just so much more that we can be talking about. And so let us know what you guys want to talk about. I don't care if you're young, old, single, married, blended families. We want to talk about all of it. So anyways, we love you ladies, and we are praying for you. Anything else, Shannon, to add before we say goodnight?
Nope, that's it.
All right.
Bye, Jenny. Bye, Nora. Thanks.